me for too long. I don't know what else to do. I wanna get.
Hi everybody, in today's video I'm going to be looking at the Yongnuo 35mm f2.0 prime lens. So I've come out on location and all of the photos and the majority of video that you will see today will be using this. But before we do that, let's head back inside so I can take you through some of the details of this lens. So this is the 35mm f2 prime lens from Yongnuo. You'll also see it referred to as YN lens. Now the one I have in front of me is for the Nikon Z full frame camera range. In terms of full frame, it's also available for the Sony E mount. Now it's a really nicely built lens. It's made out of aluminium alloy. And if I remove this, you'll see that it also has a metal bayonet. Now it is dust and waterproof, so you can take this lens out into the field and you don't have to worry about the weather conditions, provided that the camera is also weather sealed. In terms of the lens itself, you'll see that it has a 52mm thread on it. So obviously that's for polarizing and ND filters. Now this lens has some great functions as well. So you can see here that it has a slider to switch between autofocus and manual focus. And just above that, it has a customizable function button. So as I'm sure you know, you can set up in your camera exactly what this button will do, which I find really useful when I'm out in the field. I can use this button to perform a certain action, and it means that I don't have to go into the camera menu every time to change that particular element. The other thing it has is a really nice grab ring here. So obviously if you are in manual focus, you're going to be using that to get focus in your shots. However, if you're anything like me, I generally prefer to do my photography in autofocus. So what I do is actually transform this into a control ring. Again, it's fully customizable. So I go into my camera and I set this up to perform a specific function. Now, I generally shoot in aperture mode. So what I do when I've got this lens on is I set up this control ring so that it gives me the plus and minus in the exposure, which I find far easier than using the button on the top of the camera. The other thing that this lens comes with is a lens hood. So as I said before, because the lens is weather sealed, you can go out in wet and snowy conditions. So obviously if you are going to be doing that, then it's essential to take the lens hood with you as well. The other thing you can do with this lens too is you can update the firmware. Now you will need another piece of kit in order to do that. But once you've got that kit, it means that you can make sure that this lens is fully up to date when it comes to the firmware of it. It's pretty lightweight as well, so it comes in at 290 grams. So if you're out doing photography for a long period, it's not going to add that much weight to your setup. So I don't know about you guys, but one of the things I always do before buying a lens is to check it out on the DxOMark website. Now these guys test lenses and cameras, and I've managed to find a set of test results here for the Yongnuo 35 f2, and this is the page for the Nikon Z. In fact, I think they're using the Z7. I'll put a link to this page in the description of the video. Now the one thing I also like is not only do they test the lens, but they also test it against other lenses as well. So you can see here, they're actually testing it against Nikon's own 35mm prime lens. So just to quickly scroll down, it gives you the set of test results for the lens against these different metrics here. If you go down to sharpness, you'll actually find that the Yongnuo lens comes out as just slightly sharper than the Nikon version. Now that's really good, considering that the Yongnuo version is far more affordable than the Nikon. Now the degree to which that price difference is there is obviously going to depend on where you guys live, but the Yongnuo is far, far more affordable. So it's a great lens if you're particularly on a budget, but it will actually perform, in terms of sharpness, it performs slightly better than Nikon's own version of this. Chromatic aberration, geometric distortion, vignetting. Now all three of those can actually be adjusted and corrected in post-processing anyway. So for more technical details on this lens, I'll put a link in the description below to their website. Right, let's get back out into the field so I can test this lens on location.
From every little thing just to try to make it through. I've been thinking about my options, every detail in my head, but it doesn't really matter, nothing matters, so I cry instead.
Using a 35mm prime for landscape photography, it's all about finding the right composition. So I've come to an area that gives me enough opportunities here for more wide open shots. And I'm just working on a shot that you can see behind me there. Now it's pretty early in the morning, which is what I wanted because I want a pale blue sky because it's going to be clear and sunny conditions today and I didn't want it too bright. So what I'm also doing, I mentioned earlier that in shooting with aperture mode, I like to convert the focus ring to do a different function, and I use it to adjust the exposure. So if I just show you, hopefully on back of camera here, I'm using the grab ring there just to help me get the plus minus on the exposure, which, as I said, I just find is so much easier rather than using the button on top, particularly when I'm using gloves, because I'm sure you know, photography gloves are okay, but not perfect. So that grab ring, when you've got gloves on, I find really useful in terms of a function ring rather than a focus ring.
I've been running circles, trying to catch my breath. I've been trying everything I can, but I ain't got nothing left.
Yeah, so I think that's quite a nice composition behind me here, and I can get the nice kind of layers, so I can get this green grass here. Obviously with the tree line, not such a fan that these trees are slightly kind of blocking the view of the lake, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And then obviously the lake, and you can see that it's still misty behind it as well, and there's some nice kind of wispy clouds, which is just adding an extra dimension. I think if the clouds weren't there, I'm not so sure that this would be such a great shot.
I'm staring at the ceiling, I've been staying up all night. Everything I ever worked for vanished in the blink of an eye. I've been asking every question, cause I haven't got a clue. Why's it gotta be me? What the hell am I supposed to do?
I don't know about you guys, but photography always makes me feel hungry, so snack for in a minute. Just in summary then, I've been really impressed with this lens for my landscape photography today. Considering also that the price point compared to the Nikon it's so much more economical. So yeah, it's given me some really nice shots. Focus has been easy too. And as we saw earlier from the DxO Mark website, it is a sharp lens. So obviously for today, I've been using it for landscape photography, but it is a versatile lens. So, perfect for urban, street photography, cityscape photography, and also you could do portraits with it. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time.